Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to present some empirical research regarding the situation of a current situation of wine tourist development in the area, in the region of Peloponnese. Peloponnese is located at the south part of Greece. And is a great and big region in Greece with a very long history and in producing wines and oils, etc. She has a very good level of gastronomy. And as the previous speakers said about the importance of having primary data, we focus on 1 year and a half ago, starting a large, big primary research regarding the potentials of development of the wine tourism in Peloponnese. I will present today the first phase, the first part of this big research. It has to do with the current situation of wineries producer in the area of Peloponnese. The second and the main tool that we used was semi-structured interviews. The second part of this research will start on February of 2022. These wineries and producers are 40 in our sample. The total number of producers in Peloponnese is 180 producers, and 55% of them accept to participate in the second phase of our research that is focused on visitor experience in wine tourism. As I said before, is a long research. The wineries keep questionnaires for 1 year from the January of 2022 until the end of the year. Our admission is to collect about 5,000 or 6,000 questionnaires from wine visitors in order to set up in 2 years a general strategy about wine tourist development in the area of Peloponnese as a best practice for the rest of the wine regions in Greece. So the aim of this presentation is to detect whether small and medium enterprise corporation is a successful strategy for sustainable wine tourism development in Greece. We can see limitations, necessity improvements, and margin and adjustments. The profile of wineries to the Peloponnese area are small, medium enterprises, and they focusing on quality, innovative products, services, and marketing. And they belong to the two main clusters. The one of them is the Wine Producer Association of the Peloponnese Vineyard, and the other is the Peloponnesian Wine Roads. And from this, the second cluster, we will choose our participants in this first phase of our research. Regarding tourist wine growth and sustainability, environmental sustainability in the wine industry is receiving great attention in research in practice also from several groups, retailers, governments, environmental groups, and also consumers. Wineries also face a lot of environmental sustainability issues such as water consumption, waste management, and of course the impact to the local community. Previous studies, and when we said previous studies, we focus on empirical previous studies, suggest that there are powerful motivations for wineries and tourist-related business to become more environmentally sustainable in the whole framework of sustainability and sustainable development. These practices has to do with the water waste, the energy management, risk management, supply chain management, employee training, that's mentioned before, and community relations. Consider regarding the wine region of Peloponnese, one of the oldest wine producing areas, is the largest wine making area in Greece. There are 180 wineries in 2002, 22,000 hectares of vineyards, producing annually almost 1,500,000 kiloliters of wine. 41 of these wineries focus in sustainable tourist development. There are famous Appalachian of origin quality wines in the region. During the last few decades, many of them optimize the product by investment in technology, sustainability issues, and so on. Wine tourism has emerged as a new tool for tour industry development with benefits in branding and marketing, and of course in financial scale. Our research methods was to examine the wineries that pose most qualitative criteria, fully operational and tourist-related specification regarding and considering taking into consideration previous studies, especially using empirical data. The final study was made to 41 of the 180 wineries, and these wineries belongs to the wine tourist cluster of wine roads of Peloponnese, as I said before. Some general data from the questionnaires I will show the next slides. Most of the wineries were founded in 20th century. 76% of them are rather old. About 17 of them percent were built during the last years or so. They are old, new and modern, and 7% of them they have been in the wine market area over a century. All the wineries are privately owned and are located in agricultural areas of the region, close to the grapes that cultivate. Most wineries occupied relatively large plots of land for Greek, of course, standards. The average winery and vineyard property corresponds to 326, like we call it in Greece, strema. This corresponds to approximately 32.6 hectares or 80 acres, respectively. The average annual production from the wineries studied was almost 2,047 bottles per year, and almost 30% of the wineries are smaller, producing under the 100,000 bottles per year. All the wineries in the study grow more than 4 grapes of variety, and 91 of them cultivated in Peloponnese, and 78 cultivated their grapes in other protected geographical indications or in protected destination of origin zones producing quality brands, unique wines. 48 of the wineries cultivate partially or totally using organic methods, producing organically grown grapes, which they use for their wine production and can be labeled as made with organic grapes. 15% of the participant wineries produce organic and natural wines. 15 of the participating wineries apply green practices close to sustainability. 44 of the wineries has been certified for the good practices regarding the quality of management systems, environmental management systems, biological and so on certifications. And the study also finds that the participating winery produce an average of 13 different types of wine. The majority of the wineries sell their at the cellar door. All the wineries participate in the corporate clusters. All the wineries have tasting rooms. More than 50% of them have organized contemporary and fully occupied tasting rooms, able to serve an average of more than 30 people at once. 66% of the wineries pair their wine tasting with local foods and other local delicacies, creating a more favorable gastronomic experience, because when we talk about the wine tourism, of course, we talk about also gastronomy or culinary tourism. 95 of the wineries offers tours to their facilities. 49% of the wineries offer their tours in 2 languages, Greek and English. 27 offers in 3 languages, 15 in 4 languages, and 5% of them in 5 languages. 85% of the wineries charge them for the tour. And of course, 73% offer access to handicaps visitors, 27% does not, and this is very important to discuss. Only 19 of the wineries are considerably friendly to families, and only 70 to children, and only 15 of the wineries have private guest house at the winery estate, so visitors can stay overnight. 22% of the wineries has ESOP and conduct their sales through it. 54% of accept credit cards payments. 88 offer free Wi-Fi, mobiles, and etc. And all the wineries have websites in at least 2 languages. Some things about discussion. We all know that the COVID-19 lockdown brought a serious blow to the on-premises market. 82 of the wineries offer sales on premises. However, this is a small fragment of their total sales, and therefore potential losses might be limited. E-commerce is growing in the national scale. In the Peloponnesian case studies, only an extremely small percentage of 22% have ESOPs, and only 54 accept credit cards. This is a serious life-threatening disadvantage for the wineries, and of course, and the situation must change rapidly, adapting the new market reality as it appears in our days. Of course, the global economic recessions suggested that there's a great switch to at-home consumption of wine, and potentially long-term reducing wine tourist visit and on-premises consumption. Greece is considered as a COVID-safe destination. We all know that, especially a year ago, at the end of June. And the best practice country, because it's take the appropriate measures in order to face the COVID at the first stage. This is something that everybody acknowledges. Of course, the things change later, New emphasis on local wines with certification of origin and quality assurance indication has to be made. Focus on domestic and local wine in wine production countries, reflecting the national population, etc. Potentially, there could be a consumer backlash against certain countries and regions, depending on how successful the pandemic was managed. And there is also was a production decrease due to the lockdown that led to a supply shortage. In our study, 78% of the wineries produce protected destination of origin, and 44% of the wineries have been certified for the good practices. While Greece is considered as one of the countries who handled the COVID-19 outbreak especially well, these characteristics, if communicated to the international market properly, are expected to have a positive impact in the future Greek wine sales and tourist-related visitation. The Peloponnese is a leading wine producing region in Greece. However, it's not as dynamic as other wine regions and not well developed in wine tourism, regardless of the fact that the region includes some of the world-class historical monuments and sites such as ancient Olympia and major transit centers such as the port of Patra, Katakolo, and the airports of Araxos, Achaia, and Kalamata. Valuable efforts taken place the last decade as corporate scenes has been formed, wine trails, wineries of the region participate in a tourist cluster collecting archaeological sites, wineries with stunning landscape and unique local wines with characteristics period. The region of Peloponnese is unified regarding wine production and wine characteristics. Administratively, however, it is divided in two regions, and this is a handicap for the effective branding recognizably of the Peloponnese in the national tourist market. So, wine tourist cluster initiative such wine trails benefit from integration in both horizontal manner in order to increase market shares, and of course in vertical manner in order to control various stages of production into the wineries environment. Many studies show that there is major obstacles in network development, including the lack of communication, difficulty in the specification of planning and several requirements, of course the financial obligation, and of course the long-lasting understanding, especially in vertical integration and between corporate industries, the wine industry and the tourism industry, as dedicated by Sieber. Wineries capitalize on development tourist clustering to try to stay competitive and increase profits. This corporate relationship among business of the same sector and vertically with other sectors can help wine small business enterprises or in less developed regions like Peloponnese or West Macedonia to develop their plans focusing in the framework of sustainability, to produce products and service with service quality, economies of scale, effectiveness, and of course sharing educational opportunities and experience for tourists. Has a revision and the modification of services for the disabled families and children, and the introduction of innovative products and services such as technology, mobile apps, e-shops, and other things, and of course the enhancements of cooperation and the continued education of staffs and visitors are the main facts that the wine producers has to primarily develop in order to become more flexible and more effective. Of course, thank you very much for your attention. As I said before, this was a first phase of first part of a wider research. And as Nicholas and Maria said before, it's a very important thing to have to get primary data. Unfortunately, in Greece, some of the participants asked before Maria, if I remember well, if there are data for wine visitors in Santorini or other areas. No, there is no any kind of data, not for wine resort visitors, for visitors in general. We do not have this data. We do not have any data regarding the demand side. We have data only, and that very few data regarding the supply side. Greece hosts about in 2019, before 2 years ago, 31.3 million tourists. We do not know why these tourists came to Greece. In general, we know about the sea, about the sun, about the food, but only in general base. We do not ever ask them what was their motives or how they feel their experience or any kind of this very important data in order to create the appropriate tourist goods, not products. We do not talk about tourist product, we talk about the tourist good, because tourism is a combination of product and services. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Metaxas, for this very informative presentation about the region of Peloponnese and the wine tourism there. Before we start with the question, I would like you maybe, could you make some suggestions about how can we get this data? Who should become actively in this field about collecting data for wine tourists and tourists in general, maybe? So where is exactly the problem that we miss this data?
In my opinion, and regarding my experience from Greece and also from South Europe, wine tourism is a kind of alternative tourism type. We do not talk about the mass tourism, or we do not talk about anything of this. But tourism, let's start from the term tourism. Tourism means psychology. We have to find out about the trends. We have to find out about the needs, the necessities, the interests, the attitudes. In general, we have to concentrate it in the tourist psychology in order to shape, to create products, services regarding tourism or culture. So if we don't have any data, and in Greece we do not have any data about the mass tourism, not diving tourism or wine tourism or extreme sports tourism or agricultural tourism or cultural tourism or urban tourism or any kind of these forms of tourism. In Greece, we have a very, very important myth, and this myth says that as I said, Vangelis said before, Greece is a very unique country. It has three main brands that we do not create it. God give us these brands. The one brand is the geographical position of the country. It's the middle of three different worlds. The second unique is the islands of Greece. Islands of Greece are unique by themselves. If we talk about the Aegean or Ionian Islands. And the third one is the ancient history of Greece. We do not find anywhere else ancient history, in some ways in Italy, in some ways in Turkey, but all the other Europe lives in, let's say, how we mean anagenesi,
renovation.
Okay, renovation period. Greece faced the Turkish period here. So we have some different things in Greece. But in Greece you have so the main topic is that everyone will come to Greece. Okay, something that exists in the 70s, 80s, 90s, but things the last 2 decades have changed. Of course, we have a huge and very great position in international tourist market, but people do not visit only Greece. In Greece, we have problems in the following terms: participation, cooperation, common vision, common mission. We do not understand how to participate in creative things.
Okay, so that's the problem why in Greece it's such a big lack on data about wine tourism. Let's stay in wine tourism. I mean, okay, all countries are special. I think each country, it's not like Greece, but the problem is why in Greece we we don't have any data. Maybe Maria would continue with her question, or maybe you have to say something on collecting data.
Just a short clarification, allow me, please. Not just in order not to undermine previous work, we have data. We have data derived from field research. For instance, I have a number of publications focusing on the profile and involvement and motivations and other psychographic characteristics of wine tourists in northern Greece. There are also some Greek authors, a few, but there are, who have also concentrated their efforts towards the psychographic profile of wine tourists. So
very few data, Maria. Very few data.
Okay, but it's not correct, in my opinion, to create false impressions that no data exists. Of course, there should be a national organization collecting all this data. Of course, winemakers should raise our response rate while we're conducting field research. However, there are some data we can be based on. Thank you.
Yeah, so a national organization that could contribute to the relationship between the wineries that collect the data and the research that has to be done. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if there are any more questions.
One point,
okay, but keep it very shortly because we are running out of the time.
When we talk about data, we talk about two kinds of data. We talk about the macroeconomic data and the microeconomic data. We do not have any microeconomic data regarding the profile of visitors or the special needs and the profile of producers. We have macroeconomic data regarding from where the visitors came, how the average spending per day, how many stays they have in a hotel or whatever. If we have macroeconomic data, we do not develop any kind of tourist packages, product or services. This is we have to make this distinction. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for this discussion, for your presentation. We are closing the second slot for today and going to have a longer break until 1:15. Okay, we continue at 1:15 Central European Time. So see you in a while.